For folks who just joined in, we are giving a couple of minutes for other members to join in, and then we'll start. Okay, good morning, all. Thanks to all for joining me on a Friday morning. I'll try my best to keep the session interesting and probably a couple of takeaways for you to move forward. Uh, Today's session is more focused on emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence itself a very big topic. However, we are primarily will restrict it to the context of coaching only. So that's on the session of the topic. Before we start, right, all of you are already aware of what emotional intelligence is all about. But I'd like to understand from you why emotional intelligence is very important in coaching.
Vishwadipp, I'm sorry to stop you. Please click the recording tab. I think the session is not getting
Recording is on.
recorded.
The recording is on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the recording is on. Yeah, sorry. So I'd like to invite folks to let us know what's your understanding, the importance of emotional intelligence in coaching. You can either unmute yourself or put something on the chat window. Just think, how does emotional intelligence play a part in coaching? Okay, no one, so let me move forward. Let's start with PCC mark. Hey, sorry, yes, someone, yeah. Yes, Vishwajit.
Yeah, so thanks everyone. So this is how I put it, like emotional intelligence actually, if you have intelligence, you cannot be emotional. That's the prima facie thing. But the thing is, emotional intelligence is about managing your emotions. Okay. And as we can see, whenever we're getting into a coaching conversations, there are emotions from both the sides. Okay.
Right.
Depending on how good a question is asked, what is the response, and how we uh, connect to that response of the coachee. And throughout that hour and a half session, there's a lot of emotions that gets triggered. Okay, while these emotions gives us a trigger of get, getting into a more useful conversation to help the client. It also can play with our mindset. Okay, so and then and there we have to uh, manage those emotions of the client as well as ourselves to get the best result of that session. This is what I understand, but I'm open to other ideas.
In fact, thanks, Vishwajit, for sharing the context. Yeah, that's right. Emotions play a lot into the coaching conversations. We'll start with PC markers itself. If you look at the PCC markers, 4.2, 4.3, 5, 6. If you look at those PCC markers, there is a direct reference to emotions or feelings or associated terminologies. Now, if ICF refers to emotions, which means there is a reason why they are referring to. So let's try to understand what are emotions. What's your understanding of emotions? Emotions are just signals in your body trying to grab your attention to inform you of something important. This is the definition as per the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Now, the theoretical question is, why is it important to be in touch with our emotions? If you look at the definition again, and there's something marked in bold, something important. Emotions are trying to tell you something which is important. And therefore, it becomes important for us to be in touch with our emotions. To develop awareness of emotions, we need to identify and name our emotions in the moment. Now, I invite audience to share with us what sort of emotions you're aware of. Can you just put in the chat window the name of the emotions which you're aware of? How many emotions you can identify? Okay, bad, glad, sad, and mad. 4. What else comes to your mind? Others, feel free to put in the chat window. Anger, happiness, sadness, grief, surprise. Okay, Ruchika says there are over 20 emotions, I believe. Okay, the number is increasing. A average person can recognize 3 emotions: happy, sad, and angry. No, that's the emotions wheel or the feelings wheel, which was created by Dr. Gloria Wilcox. We have around more than 100 emotions. And the challenge is that we might feel the emotion, we are not able to express it. It's a lot of emotions. That's right, Anita. Lots of them are there. Now, as a part of PCC certification, we definitely need to demonstrate the PCC markers, which is understanding, acknowledging emotions, and hence it is logical. But the question is this: is there anything deeper with the emotions? Can the knowledge of emotions help us more, or just about clearing the PCC markers? So let's deep dive further into the emotions part of it. What's the relation between emotions and behavior and actions? If you look at it, emotions influence our behavior and our actions. Now, because of the way our brain works, we can act on our emotions without processing them or thinking rationally about what we are doing. We experience emotions before we have a rational thought also. Now, sometimes this is referred to as the gut feeling or basically survival of the instinct, which is demonstrated by fight, flight, or freeze response. The link between emotion and behaviors has helped us to survive and enables us to develop. So there is a pattern. The pattern is that there is an incident, something happens, or I perceive something to happen, or I remember something happening, or I think about what if it will happen. It results in an emotion which is produced. And this emotion results in a reaction. We react in an action or a behavior. Reaction emotionally isn't always the best because emotions are influenced by a variety of factors that primarily includes values, experiences, and beliefs. Now let's come to the context of coaching. Understanding why we reacted in a particular way or why we behaved in a particular way becomes a key for us because there's something deep involved in it. It can be a value, experience, or belief also. Hence, it enables us as a coachee, as a coach, and subsequently to the client in knowing themselves better. And that's what is important for us as a coach. Now, why do we behave like that? What triggered us? So there's a saying, triggers are at the heart of conflict. We know that life experiences, values, influence our behaviors. There is something which gets triggers. And the question is, why does the trigger happen? The trigger generally happen because there's some value or life rule was broken. There's a conflict in it. Let's take an example. If I value honesty and somebody betrays my trust, I'm likely going to be triggered. I might experience an amygdala hijacking. Now, knowing about myself helps me manage that hijacking when I'm experiencing it. And hence, the goal is basically we put a separation between us and the amygdala hijack before the trigger happens so that we're able to manage it better. In many of the coaching conversations, we are also looking for a solution which includes managing or controlling our reaction. We want to have the reaction to become the response, not an automated reaction. And therefore, we want there to be an interruption between the emotion and the reaction. And that's where an intelligence of emotions will help us. And that's why emotional intelligence is very important for us. So, how do we define emotional intelligence? Again, the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0 defines emotional intelligence as one's ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others, and then your ability to use this awareness to manage your behaviors and relationships. Let's go deep down into this. We are too much acquainted or accustomed with the 2x2 matrix. So here is a 2x2 matrix. On the x-axis, we have your self and others, while on the y-axis, we have managing. So one is about action. What do we do? Other is about managing those things. So top left quadrant is self-awareness, which is accurately perceiving my own emotions, understanding my tendencies across situations, and the impact they have on myself and others. On the top right hand is social awareness, which is accurately perceiving the emotions of others and understanding what's going on with them. So the top two quadrants primarily talks about observing, understanding, awareness of emotions. Awareness about our emotions, awareness about other emotions. The bottom two quadrants is all about managing them. So the bottom left quadrant is about self-management or self-expression, responding to my awareness to direct my behavior appropriately by taking responsibility of my actions. And the bottom right quadrant is about relationship management, leveraging self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness to manage our interactions successfully. The important part is that all components of emotional intelligence, all the four components, are built on one another. Self-awareness and self-management focus inward, while the other two are focused outward. So we are moving into self-awareness, the first quadrant. But before that, there's a question. What percentage of people think that they are highly self-aware? Can you just put in the chat window? Meanwhile, I admit some of the folks who are waiting there. So what percentage of people think that they are highly self-aware? Okay, Vishwajit says 75%. Devang says 5%. Oh, that's too less. Any other numbers? So this, okay, Rajneesh says 20%. So this is a research study being done, and it says that 95% of the people think that they are highly self-aware, which means most of us believe, assume that we are highly self-aware. But then the next question is, what percentage of people actually are? What do you think the answer would be? One is basically we believe that we are self-aware, which apparently comes to around 95%. But in actually, how many people are really self-aware? Vijay says 5%. Someone else? Ruchika says 8%. Anita says, I'm assuming it's 20% and not 205. Yeah, it's 10 to 15% as per the study. So you see, there's a drastic difference. All of us feel that we are highly self aware, but in reality, many of us, or most of us, are not self aware. Only a few of the folks are self aware. So let's go and deep down and understand better what exactly self awareness is all about. So self awareness has few competencies in it. The first competency is called self regard. Now, what exactly is self regard? It is the ability to consider, respect, value, and accept oneself. It's about acknowledging and accepting what I consider to be positive and negative characteristics. It's about knowing my strengths and my weaknesses. It is often associated with the feelings of inner strength, inner security, self assurance, self confidence, and the feeling of self adequacy. The other two competencies in self awareness, the next is self confidence. Now, self confidence grows based on what we do. It is all about action. It is based on the action we are doing it. It's about believing in myself and trusting in my abilities and judgment. Now, self confidence grows when we and others are happy or with or proud of my achievement. It generally refers to my achievement, my skills, my performance, my talent. There is another competency which is self worth. Now, self worth is more about being of the person, what I am. It's about valuing myself, knowing my worth, having a deep understanding and knowledge of who I am truly are. It gets reinforced when we feel myself, when we feel our own value. It generally refers to identity, personality, my values, my character, my mental and physical presence. Now, here there are three key words which came up, which is values, personality, strengths, and weaknesses. As a part of self awareness, we need to know our strengths and weaknesses. And there are a lot of tests which we can take to understand what our strengths and weaknesses are. For example, Gallup certified trust. Next is value systems. Value systems are basically guides us or helps us in taking decisions and taking actions. While personality refers to the enduring characteristics and behaviors that comprise a person's unique adjustment to life. Now, self-awareness of emotions is also very important. So how do we become self-aware of the emotions? I would invite you to basically take a minute or moment and write down what are the emotions you're going through right now. Just simply acknowledge the emotions which you're going through. Number one, accept the emotions which you're going through without any judgment and try to give a name to this. So if you ask me, for example, right now, my emotions, I think I'm going through two sort of emotions. First emotion is probably I'm excited because I'm presenting a webinar to a host lot of people. And second is I'm slightly, I don't know the right word, probably scared or fearful because I don't know how this webinar will go. So I'm going through two. So that's my awareness of it. Second is that I need to accept that I'm going through these two emotions and I'm not judging them. Is excitement good or bad? I'm not judging it. Is fear or scaredness is good or bad? I'm not judging it. I'm simply acknowledging and accepting. And third is basically I'm naming that. First, I'm clear it is excitement. Second, I'm not sure whether it is fear or scaredness, but yes, it is something there. I'll take a pause for you to just reflect back on yourself, what emotion you're going through. So one of the activities of self-awareness is that, or enhancing self-awareness is that focus inward, think about what emotions you're going through. Now, many times or most of the times we react emotionally. Now, how do we react? Do we get angry, defensive, or anxiously shut down or avoid the situation? Do we blame someone or judge someone? Do we get critical of ourselves? Now, these are typical fight, flight, or freeze responses. How do we normally react to these triggers or stress? Because strategy is directly related to whether we fight, flight, or freeze. And then many of us also need to manage the emotions. We don't want to fight, we don't want to flight, we don't want to freeze. So, what's your personal strategy of managing emotions? When you're under stress or when something gets triggered, I'm sure all of us has one or two strategies to managing emotions. I invite you to share what's your personal strategy of managing emotions when that gets triggered. Please write on the chat window, what's your personal strategy? Namita says, breathe. Anyone else? Anita says, time out for a brief while to settle myself. Veena says, pause. Very interesting. Biswaji says, where it is coming from. And that's come to the second quadrant, which is emotional self-control. Ruchika says, deep breathe. So emotional self-control is the ability to manage your own impulses and react to your feelings to prevent a negative impact on others. It's all about self-management. All these are wonderful strategies. And we're going to touch one of the strategies, which is mindfulness. So what exactly is mindfulness? Is the practice of purposely bringing one's attention to the present moment experience without evaluation or judgment. And how we do that? We remain present in the moment. We notice our senses. We observe the thoughts and the feelings which you're going through with a non-judgment. We are not judging that. The physical mindfulness practices are in part about bringing our minds into our bodies and acknowledging the safety of the present moment. There's something chasing right now. Now, thoughts will come. Thoughts will come in your mind, whether we like it or not. That is how our brains are designed. They produce thoughts. We don't produce thoughts. The brain produces the thoughts. The thoughts are simply like that. They're neither good or bad. And hence, we have to just be non-judgmental about it. Now, thoughts can produce emotions, and that's when it produces reactions. The key here is that practicing non-judgment. Much of our days spent deciding of things which are good or bad, right or wrong, acceptable or not acceptable, whether it is abnormal or non-abnormal. By practicing non-judgment, we can let it go without any label. Now, one of the strategies of mindfulness, there are multiple ways of being mindfulness. Someone spoke about deep breathe, taking a brief time. All these are mindfulness. I'll share with you another an activity on mindfulness, which is about box breathing. A very interesting concept of box breathing, and it has various versions of breathing techniques. In India, we do call Ujja Pranayam. A lot of pranayams are there. This box breathing was popularized by US Marine Commandos also. So it's very simple. We take a deep breath for a count of 4. We hold this for a count of 4. Then we again release for a count of 4. And then again we hold it for a count of 4. So let's do this activity together. Just follow the instructions on the screen. It's a very simple activity which we can do anytime, whenever we are under stress, while traveling, at work, can always do that. Now let's move to the next quadrant, which is social awareness, which talks about perceiving the emotions of others and understanding what's happening there. Now it includes three concepts. One is listening, observing, and empathy. So listening is all about giving close attention to someone's verbal communication. Observing is about giving close attention to someone's non-verbal communication. And empathy is about ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So social awareness means listening them completely, which is verbal communication, non-verbal communication, and finally, understanding and sharing the feelings of others. So first, let's go into the listening part. Now, what is active listening? Now, active listening, as opposed to passive listening, is an intentional act meant to demonstrate that we have heard what the other person has said. It is done by focusing on his or her words and asking questions to get deeper into the essence of their message. It is one of the most effective communication skills anyone can learn and practice. Now, how can we show that we're actively listening? So, some of the strategies are: don't interrupt. We need to hold back our responses or a solution, ask clarifying questions, maintain eye contact, and reflect what we hear. And then there's something called reflective listening, which is once we do this, we can make our active listening more beneficial by ensuring that there is a reflection. And how we do that? We reflect, we repeat back what we hear, we clarify, ask questions, and make sure that we receive the information correctly. We summarize, we condense the information into a few main details and confirm and validate whether whatever we have heard and understood is correct or not. And then at the end, we also share, we express without any judgment. The key here is that sharing without any judgment. Now, let's come to empathy. So, what exactly is empathy? As per Brain Brown, empathy is connecting with the emotions that someone is experiencing. Now, empathy comes at two levels. The first one is the emotional empathy, and the second one is your cognitive empathy. Many times we get confused empathy versus sympathy. Now, sympathy is feeling sorry for someone else, while empathetic concerns are sensitivity to other people's needs and readiness to help if they need to. Let's come to the last quadrant, which is all about relationship management. How can we have a better relationship management? We have to be open and curious. We need to acknowledge other feelings and judge, and without any judgment. And then again, pay gratitude. Being open also means sharing information about myself with others. When people know us, there is a more opportunity for them to share with us. So share something interesting about yourself to others, and then be curious about their story too. But definitely we have to use discretion here. Acknowledging others' feelings is very important. One of the key to managing relationships is leaning into your own discomfort and taking a moment to acknowledge and affirm someone else's feelings without any judgment. And finally, gratitude. Gratitude and recognition for someone always makes an impact. It's like a wild card entry. So these were the four quadrants. Now, before we move to the next activity, uh, where do you think you stand across all the four quadrants on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being maximum and 1 being minimum? Where do you think you stay there? You can put in the chat window. Vishwajit says 3. Now, there are a lot of tests available. I have pasted a link of a test. It's a free test. It will take maximum 2 to 3 minutes for you to take the test. I invite all of you to click on the link, take the test. There are 40 questions. Take the test for yourself and see where you stand across all those four quadrants. There are multiple tests available. Even the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0 also has a test. This one is used across industries, across nations, not because of the fact that it is free, but it is considered to be really great in terms of assessing someone's emotional intelligence quotient. And in case if you have completed the test, just do a comparison in terms of where you perceived yourself versus what the results say. Just put in the chat window. You don't need to mention the scores. I hope you are on the test.
Yes, Anshul, couple of minutes.
Sure. Okay, Namita says got the scores, but how to interpret and improve? So across the four quadrants, you will have a score, and the higher the score, the better you are. How to improve? Well, we probably have another session on it.
Yeah, okay. Vishwadeep, maybe this is a good time for me to bag a peer session from you based
Sorry?
on this. Maybe this is a good time for me to bag one peer session from you for the
Sure.
scores. By the way, while everyone's taking the test, I love the topic you have picked up. It's really, really well thought through.
Thanks, Namita. Thanks, Vishwajit. So, what does the report say? I mean, what was your understanding of your scores across four quadrants and versus the reports? You can unmute yourself and also speak. 7, 7, 10, 9. By the way, Vishwajit, that's fairly a very good score. We'll wait for others also. How about others? Ruchika, Devang, Rajesh, Veena. Okay, Rajesh is 5, 8, 10, 10. Thanks, Rajesh. Anita, 10, 10, 9, 9. They were not completed yet, no worries. So meanwhile, others are completing it. There is no perfect score in emotional intelligence. Lot of studies are being still done, and there's no perfect number. What's the best score for emotional intelligence? What experts say is that the more you have emotional intelligence, the better it is. Now, there are two good aspects of emotional intelligence. First is that unlike IQ, which is intelligent quotient, emotional intelligence can be developed over a period of time if you have a conscious effort on it. IQ is something which more or less we are born with. Our genes define the IQ. You cannot improve beyond a further. Plus minus definitely can happen, but if you are thinking about changing by a huge percentage, IQ will not happen. While emotional intelligence can be worked upon, we can always improve on it. And the second good part is that the key to improving emotional intelligence is awareness. The first step is being awareness. And this session is all about being awareness of it. So you're aware what are the components of emotional intelligence. You're also aware where do we stand. And then the next step is that how do we improve on it? So I'll just do a quick recap of what we touched today. First, definitely, is the four components of emotional intelligence, which is about self-awareness, self-management, emotional management, then social awareness, and relationship management. We also spoke about the key aspects, which is acknowledgement, accepting, non-judgmental, mindfulness. These are the basic ways of, sorry, someone is trying to join the session. Yeah. So these are the basic steps of improving your own emotional intelligence. And third is basically understanding triggers. What are the causes of our conflict? What are the value systems which gets broken? And that's where it becomes very important in a coaching conversation beyond the PCC marker, because many times we are helping our clients to understand why they react, why they behave like that, because there always is a clash at a deep value level or a belief level. Coming back to PCC markers, because we started the conversation with that. If you look at the screen, all the PCC markers are here. The green are the ones where directly or indirectly, your knowledge of emotional intelligence will impact on all those markers. So in the coaching context, a knowledge of emotional intelligence definitely helps us in clearing our certifications, of course. And at a deep level, it also helps us and the coachee to understand themselves, why they are behaving like that, what actions can be taken. Now, for further references, if you're interested, you can read these three books. The first two books are by Daniel Goleman, who is sort of become an authority on emotional intelligence. The first book is called Emotional Intelligence, which is the first book. And the second book is a follow-up, which is Working with Emotional Intelligence. The third one is a book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. It also comes up with a inbuilt test, which you can take. Once you take the book, there is a code. You can go online and you can take the test. It also recommends few strategies to work on emotional intelligence, and you can take the test again as to how well you have improved on emotional intelligence question. With this, we come to the last slide, which is be emotionally intelligent. I open up the floor for questions, insights, anything else you want to share, anything you want to ask. Feel free to unmute yourself. And if you can come on camera, that would be really great.
Anshu, I have a question for the whole floor.
Sure.
Because the topic is emotional intelligence in coaching. I'm curious if people have experienced a huge setback when maybe they have not displayed emotional intelligence during a coaching conversation, or in a session where they have displayed high emotional intelligence and the coaching has gone like phenomenally well. So is there any experience that people are able to like come up with or recollect, including you, of course?
Sure. I'll first let the audience comment on it. Let them share their experience.
Could you repeat the question, please? I didn't exactly understand it.
Sure, Namita. I'm basically trying to correlate how displaying or not displaying emotional intelligence in a coaching conversation for you personally has played out as a coach.
So honestly, if the way I think about it is as per the ICF guidelines, uh, I mean, of course, we do display empathy, right? But I don't know. As per the ICF guidelines, I don't think we are supposed to emotionally respond or display emotions in that sense, other than the empathy that and the understanding of the client situation, right? Um, but to be honest, when I'm not working for recording sessions for ICF, I have found that little bit of display of emotional IQ of and your personal experience opens up the client to hope. They hope to be better, they hope to learn from that experience, and then they believe they can do better next time. That's what I have felt.
Uh, Namita, just uh, one thing in this is maybe a display of emotions is not necessarily display of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
There may be some circumstances when display of emotional intelligence means not to show emotion, right, Vishwadipp?
Okay, I'll comment on that later on. First, you complete.
Okay, fair enough. Hi, Rajneesh, you want to say something?
I was just thinking, so I think what I find is that it's one of the toughest things to be with the emotions and to handle emotions. And I can see in my coaching journey a couple of instances when the coachee went into a zone or into an emotion that I was uncomfortable with,
Hmm.
and I didn't stay with it. I moved on. And to stay with that, so in the sense that asked a brilliant question, and let's say that is the aha question, and some deep revelation is coming out, but it is now at a disturbing end of something. Maybe I am not very comfortable handling that kind of a situation, and therefore, and I can't help but relate this emotional intelligence to something which the Belgium hockey team coach taught me when I did my advanced management course at NCR long time back.
Okay.
He said that in his team, he looks for 4 qualities. He looks at IQ, which he said is like the game skills, the skill of the game. Then he looks at PQ, which is the physical strength. And then he talked of EQ, which makes the team click. And in the sense that you have the wisdom to pass the ball, you have the wisdom to know that this guy is good at this, and you play to each other's strengths, you play as a team. So I think an emotional intelligence in terms of coaching would mean to be able to relate to the coachee's emotions and to also be able to relate to what are my emotions to what is happening, because sometimes my actions and questions are going to be guided from the deep-rooted emotions that I am carrying. So it's more of getting in sync and being here and now. Having said that, I think I am really struggling to get to the bottom of emotions, both mine and the coaches when I'm doing coaching.
Thanks,
Could I
Rajneesh, for
add on
being
to
so
that?
vulnerable. Yeah, Rajesh, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, Namita, I think that I know where you're coming from. And all of us Indians have got a deep sense of empathy to the extent of getting into sympathy. And that gets worse when we actually let the emotions of our coachee affect us. And when I started my coaching journey, I used to strongly feel what is wrong in showing some empathy. What is wrong in mirroring the emotion? There's nothing wrong. But then after years of coaching experience and I used to challenge the ICF markers where it is said that you have to stay away from the emotions of the coaching. I used to really challenge it. But after years of experience, and now I'm a PCC, just recently I got my PCC, my experience is that ICF markers have been framed with a lot of thoughts and lot of deliberations by experts. So first, we should believe that. And second, we should try and practice if we can stay away from that emotion. And that is how we can help. Our idea is to, co-create a journey of, finding out for the coachee. And if we also start, say crying or being very happy about it, then they are, as Peter Redding, my guru used to say, that then there are two coaches in the room. There are two clients in the room. So who's the coach? So it
His
is.
saying is very, yeah.
That's very aptly said, Rajesh. I mean, I really
But-
appreciate this input.
Yeah.
So what we
But
should
I-
do and try and practice is that you should try. It's very difficult, easier said than done. Sorry, Rajneesh, I'll just complete my thought.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So just try and stay away from the emotions as much as possible. अंदर अंदर आपको बहुत हिलाएगा, but you just have to control your emotions, and that is what emotional intelligence is all about. Sorry, Rajneesh, please continue.
No, I was just looking at it from a slightly different angle than what you're saying, and I was feeling that you cannot stay away from emotions. Number one, emotions will come as long as human beings are there. Emotions will come when two people are in a coaching conversation. What I would feel is that probably you use the emotions as a data. It's an input for you. What happens to me when some emotion comes up? How do I take my decisions? If there is a group, what is happening when that emotion is coming up? So I think I read this somewhere recently and realized that to use emotions as a data is a very, very, so it's like a data point, and very difficult to get out of them, in the sense that if there is an emotion coming up, it is coming up. How do you stop it? So can you be aware of it, and can you then use that as in data to serve the purpose of the client in the service of client? That would be my take on that, Rajesh.
So if I may just take another minute, Anshu, is, a lot of times when it so happened that I've coached, I've done a team coaching and I have controlled my emotions instead of, in spite of being provoked, etc. People have come back later to me and asked me, how did you control that? And that's inspiring. And I would like to learn that. And I would like to, have a one-on-one session with you. And that is where you help. So emotional intelligence, as Vishwadipp will also, maybe suggest later, is to how well you are able to control your own emotions so that it's not affecting your coaching assignment, your coaching work that you're doing. It's very difficult, but it happens. It happens.
Anita, I'm not sure if we've gone completely off topic from your question. You can bring us back whenever you like.
No, I was just seeing what comes up, because what Anshu I feel did very well is trying to link emotional intelligence directly to the PCC competencies. So I was just like wanting you guys to think aloud. So thank you for doing that. I mean, honestly, that was objective.
Yeah, I'll come to Sandeep, but before that, thanks a lot for the inputs, Rajesh, Rajneesh, Devang, Anita asking for this question, and Namita also. If you look at the four, okay, Vishwati, you also ready, but let me just summarize and complete and share my inputs. If you look at the entire emotional intelligence quadrant, there are 4 quadrants. First is being aware of your own emotions. Second is being aware of other emotions, which in the coaching context is your coaching emotions. Third is controlling your own emotions or managing your own emotions. And fourth is the relationship management. In a coaching context, the first three quadrants are very helpful. Now, what's the objective of a coaching session? Objective is to basically definitely transform the coaching. No, definitely the solution will be there, but transform the coaching. For that, we need to read the coaching. And many of the communication are non-verbal. Coaching will say a lot of things, but a lot of things are unsaid through emotions. And that's why, as a coach, you have to recognize those emotions. That's the first thing. That's where emotional intelligence comes into the picture. Now, second is that if you have to assess someone, a third person, on the emotions, you have to be bigger than that. And therefore, you yourself have to be intelligent enough to understand your own emotions. Now, many times, as we said, emotions do get triggered. But during the coaching conversations, you're not supposed to trigger your own emotions. And that's where your self control comes into the picture. And finally, understanding why the client is behaved or acted like that way, going to the belief system, is again a part of the emotional intelligence. Because you have to understand why client behaved like that or acted like that or reacted like that. And that's in coaching conversations, it does help. For me personally, many scenarios have happened wherein I was able to notice that client is saying something different, but in reality, the emotions were reflecting something different. And a couple of this, in fact, last week I was having a coaching conversations. I simply took a pause and said, hey, your emotions are something showing very different rather than what you are saying. And then this lady literally cried and said, hey, here my past incident. Because she was saying that she's very strong, but she was trembling while she was saying that. Now, we were able to judge primarily because we were able to look at her emotions. So that's when coaching context becomes very important. Sorry, Sandeep, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. I Vishwadipp, so my question is that in the competencies, uh, I think it calls out regulating one's emotion. So one and a lot of thing that Rajesh spoke of was controlling the emotion. So I'd like to understand the nuance between controlling vis-a-vis regulating an emotion.
Okay, so one is basically you have an emotion which comes up. So, say for example, client starts crying. And then you also say, oh, I also feel very sad. I went through this. Rather than basically just acknowledging that I understand that it has impacted you negatively. That's what about regulating your emotion. Controlling for yourself is basically, okay, there's emotion coming and you're subsidizing the emotion. Instead of subsidizing it or pressurizing it down, you release it in a way which is helpful or beneficial for you. That's about regulating the emotion. So emotional intelligence doesn't say that you have to control the emotions. You have to regulate the emotions. Controlling is basically suppressing the emotions. If you suppress,
Exactly.
something else will come up. So you don't need to
Exactly.
suppress the emotions, but release the emotions in a positive manner. Which positive manner for yourself?
Right. So in with this understanding or this nuance, in a coaching conversation, even acknowledging your own emotion as part of regulating it in the conversation should be acceptable, is what I understand. Is that right?
So acknowledging to yourself
Yes.
and
Yes.
putting a non-judgment to this.
Correct. Okay.
Vishwajit, I think you also wanted to say something. Love to hear from you also.
Yeah, we are already up time, so I'm not sure if I will be able to add any value. But even then, so this is very, very useful conversation that we are having for, and I'm so privileged that I'm in a company of people who are sharing their wisdom. But in my early coaching days, there are three aspects that I was thinking. In my early coaching days, I was coaching these people who come from slums, and they work for uh, malls and other uh, malls and other places where they see two different worlds. Where they come from and where they work, there is a wide gap in their living conditions. So I was given this coaching assignment to make them adaptable to this. But I was working with someone, and I was feeling so bad for his conditions that actually, for after every conversation, I used to pay him for the kind of stories that he used to tell. Okay, about his living conditions, and I thought, what can I do? Okay, what can I do to make his life little more easy? And I used to actually come out and say, will this money solve your problem? And if it can, I can. So that time I was finding it easy because, but when I grew up in coaching, this is what I understand, like, how you got involved into this, and you should actually detach yourself from their emotions, because otherwise it is a never-ending process. Okay, you cannot help them by providing them financial help. Second is, during my corporate uh, work, I used to be at a senior leadership role. So I used to coach a lot of people. There, when I coach, I used to get carried away with my emotions and express a vulnerable side of me. Okay. And those people who used to see me as a person of great repute, they think, okay, this man is also vulnerable. Okay, there it helped. Okay, there it helped because they think that vulnerability is not a bad quality. Okay, it is something that we need to accept. Okay, it's also an emotion. You need to accept that vulnerability in any leadership position. We may conduct ourselves as the most um, fearless character, and but deep inside, when you get entangled with our emotions, we are also vulnerable. So that helped my team uh, to get aligned with the organizational culture. But now that I am a professional coach, I cannot do that. Okay. Because they look up to me just as a coach. Okay. They don't go by my repute. Okay. Or my reputation. So now I cannot get attached to their emotions, and I need to like what do you say, the flight freeze and all. So I use that stop mechanism, as I read it in stress management. Okay, a stop mechanism. So step back, think, reorganize, and then go. So yes, I mean, but it's a process. Okay, it's a process that you're going to. So all these people in this group are, I believe, are PCC. I'm still in the journey. So yes, it's a lot of learning, Vishwadipp. It's a lot of learning. Thank you so much.
Especially for sharing your insights. With this, we are closing the session. I hope you found this useful. And if I see further interest, we can come up with a follow-up session on how do we develop our own emotional intelligence. Thanks a lot for your insights, inputs. Feel free to ping me for any feedback, anything else you want to know about emotional intelligence. We'll be happy to connect back with the group. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
a
much,
lot.
Thank you.
Vishwadipp.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.